Good morning. Welcome to the Lenora Faye Show, morning edition. I'm your host, Lenora Faye, and yes, I realize I'm kind of dressed like a pumpkin, but this is not going to be a Halloween episode. So if you are listening to this, I am wearing what's translating onto screen as a orange dress. It's actually coral, and my wig is green with it's ombre, so it's green with black roots. The styling is a work in progress for this wig, but I really like it. And I rarely wear this one out. But I realize, okay, what's the message for today's show? Uh, the funny thing is all my really good Halloween stories, of course, are adult, and those are going to be saved from my memoir because I need the privacy of writing those down in pages. I thought about doing a podcast episode for the Lenora Faye show, like the actual podcast. I thought about doing a Halloween episode specifically, but the story I really want to share needs to be in print. It's worthy of a book. It's involved and it spans a long time, so I can't do the story justice. I've hinted at the story in my previous podcast, but yeah, I'm gonna save that story. I never, so as a kid, we weren't allowed to go trick-or-treating due to religious reasons. And there's a lot of things we weren't allowed to do for religious reasons. But my mom was creative and she would hide candy around the house for me and my brother to find and give us clues. So that was fun. I think that happened through the age of 9. And then we moved. And then I remember I went trick-or-treating once as a teenager, which I think confused a lot of people, but somehow me and my brother pulled it off. And so that was fun. I remember I had a lot of candy and then that was kind of it. So, but Halloween as an adult has been a lot more fun, but it's not something I really participate much in now. Although last year, oh no, I was going to talk. Okay, no, that's a different story. I was actually thinking about maybe talking about this on the podcast in detail. I might do that. But anyway, last Halloween, so I was, how old am I right now? Yeah, I was, last Halloween, I was 40. And I went out, I was just, oh man, last year, yeah, last year was odd. I, every year's odd though. Um, okay, before I tell that story, Halloween in like previously for the last few years, while I was hosting another podcast, co-hosting another podcast, we would do impromptu Halloween episodes, which were hilarious. And so the link to that old podcast is on this channel still. Um, but those were fun. And I really I had stopped going to Halloween parties for a long time. So last year, I think that was that was the first year I did not have any kind of podcast Halloween anything, or I had no plans. And I ended up going out dancing at the queer club here, and I had so much fun. I hadn't been out to that place because I don't really go to clubs, but if I do, I'm gonna go to a gay club. And I had so much fun. I had a great outfit. It wasn't a costume. It was a black cocktail dress with amazing cleavage, and I wore my gold high tops because I can't wear heels anymore. And they had light up LED lights. Those were great, and they're worn out now. I got them in San Francisco. And I had a masquerade mask with a feather. It was pink, lots of body glitter. I was a 40-year-old dancing with a bunch of tiny 20-year-olds. It was great. It was awesome. Um, yeah. I will go into a little more detail about that night on a podcast episode, I think, because I don't Halloween, I'm not like, oh my gosh, I celebrate, have to do anything Halloween themed, but there might be a story to share a little bit more. But anyway, this is not a Halloween morning show episode. I did want to share something funny. Funny, creepy, maybe this is creepy, but just for the sake of entertainment. So, okay, so I've been going out for daily walks for a very long time now, and they're just, I mean, especially while the weather's nice. When it gets too icy and snowy, I don't. But I've just been, it's been great for mental health, mental wellness, just for figuring out life, navigating through life, and just for general exercise. So a couple days ago, I was out for a walk and um, listening to the new Coldplay album, which I partially love. I love Coldplay. There's a lot of their music speaks to me since the beginning, since they've been out. Well, since like early 2000s that I discovered that I've been listening to them, I guess. And anyway, their new album came out, so I was listening to it, and it just put me into like this really, really great state of mind. Now, when I'm like the trails I normally go out, and maybe because I live in a relatively friendly city, whenever you pass somebody, it's generally like you generally greet people, like you say hello or you just acknowledge or nod or whatever. And I usually, with the occasional exception, am a solo walker, so I'm just walking by myself. And I don't walk looking down. I walk looking straight ahead and around. Like I love to see everything. So while I have a great resting bitch face, I also acknowledge people, and it's just generally accepted here that you say hello, nod, just acknowledge people as you walk. Which, when it's really busy, can be actually really distracting because you're nodding or saying hello to people every 3 seconds, which is not the worst thing in the world. But sometimes, you just kind of get lost in your thoughts. But I generally feel like if I want to be lost in my thoughts, I will find a place to walk where I know there's going to be no people. But I happen to be in a highly populated area. So I, anyway, there were a bunch of people on bikes. I think it was part of like one family, and there was an older guy, older gentleman on a bike, and he made a kissy face at me, like really obvious. And it happened, and then he passed me, and I started laughing, and I couldn't stop laughing. Unfortunately, I could see there was a bench, so I continued to walk to the end of the trail, sat on a bench and started to laugh, and then texted some of my friends about it because I was like, this just happened. And then I was thinking, why couldn't you be 30 years younger and then just come talk to me? But, you know, it wasn't meant to be. So I'm gonna say that was unusual. Now, it's not because people don't flirt with me, but that was like really, really obvious. Like, I just and also was not expecting it. So I was like, well, what kind of vibe am I putting out? And then on the way back, yeah, there was another guy, another older gentleman. He was out fishing because there was a bunch of people fishing, and I took an unpaved path because I'm trying to train my injured ankle to feel stable and secure on not like super complicated trails, but just testing deltoid and all that stuff. And it's really pretty, and then I didn't have to like pass a bunch of people. But anyway, I was polite and said hello, and he asked if I could understand him, and I kind of could. He had broken English, but I could get the gist of what he was saying. But I was like, if I'm putting out this energy for older gentlemen, no, I'm gonna keep walking. I don't feel like being everybody's best friend, or I'm not open to that. Like, what kind of vibe was I putting out? I was just feeling happy. Is that who I attract when I'm really happy? No, that's not my MO, but it was weird. Anyway, I wanted to share that because that was funny. Um, so yeah. Oh. Anyway. Now, okay, so that's spooky, creepy, nah, not necessarily. I've had really, really great conversations with people of all ages while out walking, and there are two in particular, three conversations, two with the same person a year apart, and then oh man, you know what? Here's the thing. I don't share things that happen for the sake of gossiping, even though I'm a big celebrity gossip person, but what happens in my life, I want to share because I feel like there's something to it. It's not just for entertainment, but it's also I find a lot of interactions encouraging, and I want to find a way of it's always let me put it this way. It's my intention to share things with to the point with the intention. It's my intention to share things to inspire and encourage, especially when life feels like really wobbly, and you know we can assume things or people are a certain way, but I'm trying to find hope for humanity somewhere. And yet things happen where I'm like, okay, I need a little bit of time before I share this particular story because I don't want to betray anybody's confidence. I don't want my friends to feel like anytime something happens or they share something or we experience something together that I'm going to talk about it. Although I will at some point if I feel like it can add value. So I will say about what's happened recently, without getting into too much detail and making anyone who was participating in this feel uncomfortable, I will say that out of my walks, I have been having conversations with people who I have met or have known, and there was some kind of unsettled, not unsettled, unspoken energy or interaction that kind of needed to be cleared. And I've been meeting up with these people just accidentally while out for walks, and it's just kind of brought things to a close in a really wonderful way, and that's been really, really nice. So that's all I will say to that, because there was one significant conversation which I will share in a year or two, because this one was really specific, and this was involving somebody that there was it was a challenge to deal with, let me put it that way. Anyway, I was out for a walk and happened to run into them while I was on the trail, and that got cleared up and felt like 50 pounds had left me. So it was just mental energy that I was at fine with, but it's gone and it's great. So walking is fantastic. Even if old guys sit blow you kissy faces occasionally. I don't need that to be a habit. Like I said, they can be 30 years younger. But even then, oh God. Anyway, so I'm navigating social media from a new space this time. And it's really interesting because I don't use social media personally. If I'm going to post on social media, it's to promote something, meaning the podcast now or or the podcast or this show. And I've never been a content consumer. You know, I don't get a lot of pleasure from it if I'm looking at people's stuff. Like I follow certain people who I know, or and generally it's people they have to send me things specifically if they want me to see it. Because I don't, I may follow you, but I don't spend time scrolling. I don't get any kind of, again, I don't get any joy from it. It doesn't, because I'm always wanting to create. And I think and this is like I love creating things mostly, but I have to be inspired to create something. And I hate going through phases which I'm in and out of where I can't, I'm like I can't create. There's nothing. I'm not inspired to create anything right now. Now, obviously, I'm doing this show and this is a really really new inspiration and this is just the start of it. It's something for me to put energy into and then it will evolve. And I think I want to address that a little bit just for anyone that is thinking about creating or is having trouble creating because I can't really speak to the content consumer aspect because I don't share that. It's not I don't consume it. There will be times where I will look for things specifically because I want to know, I want to learn what people are doing or um because content creators will sometimes share like what's working for them. But ultimately, it's practicing connecting with your creation and it's practicing feeling comfortable and just putting it out there. And being a creator, whether it's content or any other kind of art form, and this is what I learned, this is what I reflect on when I think about my days as a musician. I used to be a violinist and I absolutely dreaded I mean, this all, my peak of that was just before YouTube came out because I was not, oh my gosh, the thought of like playing on screen and any of that stuff, like in person, fine. Even that was a bit nerve-wracking, but I've always liked public speaking and that sort of thing, but without pictures and without video. Now, obviously, we live in a different time where we put our content out. And partly why I have so many wigs is because that I was able to become more comfortable and confident speaking in this kind of setting or just speaking to an audience that I don't know who's on the other end without feeling self-conscious about it. Now that has taken years and years to get to this point because I mean I could do this without a wig, but it's also fun to do it with. So, one morning when I'm feeling lazy. Actually, no, I probably won't do that for this, but yeah, it's just it's a fun thing to do. But anyway, my point is getting out of your shell and becoming confident in creating something. But then it's when you don't know what you're creating, you may have a little bit as to why you're creating it, and then you're not quite sure how to go about it. And that's a really interesting state to be in. Now, this particular show is just a test. It's very informal, where I feel completely aligned or well, I feel aligned doing this because it's just open conversation for me. I don't have a particular structure with this. Where I feel structured is with the podcast because that's on a specific story or a specific topic. So I'm sharing this because just again off the cuff because I just want to let you guys know or anyone who's in this state of, well, I don't really know how to get started or I'm not sure. Don't be afraid to put out something that's imperfect. It's quite possible that it won't land, but it's a place to start. And I'm doing this in real time as an example because I don't have okay, what am I going to talk about? I'm just going to hit record and start talking. This is just something really light and fluffy with a little bit of substance because I can't, I'm not good at small talk. It has to go somewhere. But also, I am planting the seed for myself to show up and connect with people as imperfectly as I do it, right? In a way that speaks to me. And I'm like, I want to create something on video. I just want to put it out there just for something because we all okay, I did lie a little bit or forgot. I do consume content in the form of podcasts and video. I don't scroll on social media. It has like I like listening to business podcasts or podcasts that are kind of spiritually based for business. Basically, how could I get my inner life aligned with the kind of thing life I want to create for myself from a business standpoint? So I do I do consume content. It's long form content, something where people are sharing how they built the success that they have, how they felt, the inner work that they did. That's what I like. So this is me trying to figure out this show, for example, this 2 week show that I'm doing is a way for me to at least start or putting one foot in front of the other. What can I do to share what I've been through, how I've navigated, and what can I build from it? And what can I give to people from it, right? So the podcast, which again was not a planned thing, but has come out. I was like, I love to talk. I love to share things. And I like the entertainment aspect of it. And there has, and with a purpose, right? So that one is very specific, but it's not quite enough. So I'm doing this as an experiment to add to what I'm creating with that, with the main podcast, the Lenora Faye Show, and to see where it leads. So that's why I'm doing this. And I'm sharing this because this is how things happen. Okay? Sometimes usually the idea just comes to me and then I can act on it to the best of my ability, but I don't see the full vision. But I'm saying this as an encouragement is if you do have an idea and you can at least partially start it or you can act on it, do that because it's going to open up something more as you go along. Or maybe it won't, but and if it doesn't, that means it's satisfying. It satisfies a question because doing this show, this particular episode, and me also in the back of my brain going, why am I talking about this? Where's it going? It's I'm right now acknowledging like there's something calling me to do something like this, and this is the only way I know how. So at least I'm honoring that. And that's important. That is one of the biggest things you can do for yourself. It doesn't matter how old you are, right? Is to honor what's speaking to you and look at it. And then if it goes nowhere, at least you can put that to rest, right? That is a really freeing experience because if you've done like I look at what I spent 6 years doing advocacy work for, which was not the intention. It just kind of happened that way. And what I personally learned from it and my personal feelings in that whole process and the choices that I made in my life, I don't have any unanswered questions when it comes to um what I did with that advocacy work and what was calling me to in my life. At least I can go, yeah, I felt like talking about this particular subject. I created a community for myself accidentally, and I learned a whole bunch of neat things. And I suddenly have gone from zero confidence talking on screen to, it's I don't know who's listening on the other end. It matters, and at the same time it doesn't, because that's beyond my control. But I feel a world of difference doing now versus let's say 2018 version of Lenora. So, sometimes things do feel like a waste of time. You don't know what you need things to happen. They're not happening. That's just how things go. But I I just feel, and based on experience, it's not a waste of time. And at least you've acknowledged that you want to give something a try. If anything, that's worth it. So I'm going to end on that note. I feel that went somewhere. So yeah, if you want to support the show, there'll be ways down below the links. Thank you for listening, of course. And like I said, this is a 2-week experiment that I'm doing. And if you have any comments or if you want to reach me privately, you can DM me through Instagram. My email address may be on this channel. I'm not sure. Probably. Probably. And of course, there's the Lenora Faye Show podcast, which is available. You can watch it here on YouTube or you can stream it on Apple or Spotify. And again, thank you for watching, and we will chat tomorrow.